Research Station Keeper 9 had been monitoring the dead sector for exactly 347 cycles. 347 cycles of absolutely nothing happening. No ships, no signals, no excitement whatsoever. And just Vex staring at sensor readings that showed the same empty void day after day, wondering why the High Command thought this particular patch of space deserved constant surveillance. Another thrilling day in paradise, Vex muttered, tentacles tapping against the control console with the rhythm of someone slowly losing their mind. The lead researcher's violet skin had taken on a grayish tint from spending too much time under artificial lighting, and their 4 eyes were starting to develop that glazed look that came from staring at nothing for too long. Toru, the communications officer, poked their head around the corner of the monitoring station. Still complaining about our assignment? Oh, absolutely not. Vex's voice dripped with sarcasm. I live for the excitement of watching empty space. It's truly the pinnacle of scientific achievement. My ancestors would be so proud. It could be worse, Nim called out from the security station, not bothering to look up from their weapon maintenance. Could be stationed on Garbage Moon 7. At least Garbage Moon 7 has actual garbage to study, Vex shot back. Here we have what exactly? The theoretical possibility that something might happen. The mathematical chance that we are not wasting our lives? That's when the sensors started screaming. Not the gentle beeping that usually indicated a minor anomaly or space debris. This was the full-blown, ear-splitting alarm that meant something big, something dangerous, something absolutely not supposed to be, there had just appeared in their supposedly empty sector. Well, Vex said, staring at the readouts that were now flashing every color in the spectrum, I suppose I should be careful what I wish for. Toru was already scrambling to their station, all 6 limbs moving in perfect coordination. Massive energy signature detected. Something's forming approximately 2,000 units from our position. Define something, Nim demanded, abandoning their weapons and moving to the tactical display with the quick but efficient movements of someone who'd seen too much combat to be surprised by anything. Unknown spatial distortion, Toru's voice was climbing toward panic. It's opening. Like a tear in space itself. Vex turned to look at the main display, and for the first time in 347 cycles, felt their hearts skip a beat. Where there had been nothing but empty space moments before, reality was now twisting itself into impossible shapes. Colors that had no names swirled in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Is that? Nim started. A wormhole, Vex finished, their voice barely above a whisper. A genuine, honest-to-the-void artificial wormhole. Should we alert High Command? Toru asked, their hands hovering over the communication controls. Not yet, Vex said quickly. Let's figure out what we are dealing with first. Last thing we need is a fleet of battleships showing up to investigate what might be a natural phenomenon. Natural? Nim snorted. That thing is about as natural as my grandmother's cooking. And she's been dead for 50 cycles. The wormhole stabilized with a sound like reality clearing its throat. It hung in space like a wound in the universe, approximately 300 units in diameter, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to come from somewhere very far away. Energy readings are off the charts, Toru reported, their voice steadier now that the initial shock had worn off. But the pattern is strange. It's not like any wormhole technology in our databases. Which databases exactly? Vex asked, moving closer to the sensors. Because last I checked, nobody in this sector of the galaxy has successfully created stable wormhole technology. Exactly my point, Toru replied. This thing shouldn't exist. Nim was running tactical scans, their expression growing more concerned by the moment. No immediate threat detected, but I'm reading some very odd quantum signatures. Whatever created this thing, it's not using any physics I recognize. Wonderful, Vex said, settling into their command chair. Just wonderful. 347 cycles of boredom, and now we get to deal with impossible technology from unknown sources. The universe has quite the sense of humor. Should we move to a safer distance? Toru suggested. from a wormhole of unknown origin and capabilities. Vex considered this, probably. But then again, this is the most interesting thing that's happened since I got stuck on this assignment. I say we stay put and see what happens. That might be the worst decision you have ever made, Nim pointed out. Probably, Vex agreed cheerfully. But at least it won't be boring. The wormhole pulsed once, twice, and then settled into a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat made of twisted space and impossible light. None of them knew it yet, but something was coming. Something that would make them wish for the boredom of the last 347 cycles. Something that would change everything. Contact. Toru's voice cracked like a teenager hitting puberty. Ship approaching from Vector 77 Mark IV. Vex spun around so fast they nearly fell out of their chair. Ship? What kind of ship? Please tell me it's one of ours and this whole situation is just some classified military exercise nobody bothered to inform us about. Negative, Toru said, their tentacles dancing across the sensor controls. Design unknown. Primitive propulsion system. Really primitive. They are using controlled chemical explosions to move through space. You are joking, Nim said flatly. I wish I were, Toru replied. They are also broadcasting on radio frequencies, like they are still living in the Dark Ages. Vex leaned back in their chair and let out a long, suffering sigh. Let me guess. They are heading straight for the wormhole. Naturally, Toru confirmed. Because apparently the universe has decided that today is the day everything goes completely insane. On the main display, the approaching vessel looked like something a child might build from scrap metal and good intentions. It was roughly cylindrical, covered in what appeared to be patches and repairs, with engines that belched fire and fury in the most inefficient way possible. That thing is held together with hope and stubbornness, Nim observed. How is it even flying? The same way most primitive species manage space travel, Vex said with a shake of their head. Sheer bloody-minded determination and a complete lack of understanding about how dangerous space actually is. Should we warn them? Toru asked. Try to establish contact? What exactly would we say? Vex spread their arms wide. Hello, unknown primitive species. Please don't fly into the mysterious dimensional rift that appeared in our sector this morning. They'd probably think we were trying to claim salvage rights or something. The human ship continued its approach, apparently oblivious to both the alien presence and the potential danger of flying directly toward an unstable wormhole. Its trajectory was so perfectly aligned with the anomaly that it might as well have had a target painted on its hull. Reading 3 life signs aboard the vessel, Toru reported. All appear to be the same species. Bipedal, carbon-based, operating in a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. Humans, Nim said with recognition. They are humans. You know this species? Vex asked, raising an eyebrow ridge. Only by reputation, Nim replied grimly. They are known for 2 things, being incredibly stubborn and having a complete disregard for personal safety. Some military files call them the species most likely to accidentally start a war while trying to make friends. Oh, that's just perfect, Vex muttered. Suicidally curious primitives. This day just keeps getting better. Suddenly, the human vessel began transmitting. The signal was crude, unencrypted, and broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously like they were shouting into the void and hoping someone would hear them. This is the exploration vessel Pioneer's Edge. A voice crackled through the speakers in what sounded like barely controlled excitement. Commander Marcus Kane speaking. We are approaching an unknown spatial phenomenon and request any available information from local authorities. Local authorities? Vex repeated incredulously. They think we are traffic controllers. At least they are polite, Toru pointed out. Elena here, another voice joined the transmission. Sensors are picking up some crazy readings from that thing. It's like someone took physics and tied it in knots. That's one way to describe a wormhole, Nim said dryly. A third voice chimed in, sounding considerably more nervous than the first 2. Raj speaking. Guys, I'm reading massive energy fluctuations from that anomaly. Maybe we should approach more slowly? Like much more slowly? Maybe from another solar system? Now there's a human with some sense, Vex said approvingly. Relax, Raj, Marcus Kane's voice came back. When has humanity ever made progress by playing it safe? Besides, this could be the discovery of the century. A stable wormhole appearing out of nowhere? We'd be idiots not to investigate. We'd be dead idiots if we get too close, Raj protested. Details. Elena laughed. Come on! Where's your sense of adventure? Vex turned to look at their crew. Are they seriously having this conversation while flying directly toward an interdimensional tear in space? Apparently so, Toru confirmed. I'm starting to understand why this species has such a reputation, Nim said. They are not just reckless. They are enthusiastically reckless. The human ship continued its approach, and Vex could practically feel the excitement radiating from the crude vessel. These weren't explorers driven by scientific curiosity or military necessity. These were thrill-seekers who'd found the ultimate thrill. Should we intervene? Toru asked again. And deprive them of their fun, Vex replied with bitter sarcasm. Besides, maybe they know something we don't. Maybe humans have some special resistance to interdimensional anomalies. Maybe they will just bounce right off. Or maybe they will get turned inside out, Nim suggested helpfully. There's only one way to find out, Vex said, settling back to watch the show. And something tells me we are about to get a front row seat to the galaxy's most expensive demonstration of why you shouldn't poke mysterious space phenomena with a stick. The Pioneer's Edge drew closer to the wormhole, its primitive engines firing with all the subtlety of a celebration firework. And somewhere in the back of Vex's mind, a small voice whispered that they were about to witness something that would haunt their nightmares for cycles to come. This is incredible. Marcus Kane's voice practically vibrated with excitement as the Pioneer's Edge settled into a holding position just outside the wormhole's event horizon. Elena, are you getting readings on the energy matrix? Every sensor we have is going crazy, Elena replied, her voice filled with the same infectious enthusiasm. The gravitational distortions alone should have torn this thing apart, but it's stable as a rock. This is beyond anything in our textbooks. Raj's voice cut through their excitement like a cold knife. Guys, I really think we should call this in to Earth Command. Let them send a proper research vessel with actual protective shielding and, people who get paid to die horribly in the name of science. Vex watched the human ship bob gently in space and felt a growing sense of unease. They are not actually going to go through that thing, are they? Oh, they are thinking about it, Nim said, reading the tactical displays. The ship's trajectory keeps shifting. They are looking for the best angle of approach. The best angle of approach, Vex repeated slowly, to fly into an interdimensional anomaly of unknown origin that could lead literally anywhere in the universe, or nowhere at all, Toru added helpfully. Thank you, Toru. That's much more comforting. Marcus Kane's voice crackled over the communication array again. I'm going to take the shuttle through first. Solo reconnaissance. If something goes wrong, at least Elena and Raj can get word back to Earth. Marcus, no. Raji's voice climbed several octaves. That's the worst idea you have ever had, and that's saying something coming from the man who thought we could outrun a solar flare. Raj is right, Elena chimed in. We should either all go together or none of us go at all. Negative, Marcus replied with the tone of someone who'd already made up their mind. I'm the mission commander, and I'm not risking both of you on what might be a one-way trip. Besides, someone needs to tell the story if this goes sideways. Vex felt their blood pressure rising. They are seriously going to do it. They are actually going to fly into the wormhole. Should we try to contact them? Toru asked, tentacles hovering over the communication controls. Warn them somehow? And say what exactly? Vex gestured at the display. Hello, primitive space travelers. Please ignore the terrifying dimensional rift that could potentially unmake your molecular structure. They will either think we are lying or they will get even more excited about the prospect. We could try, Nim suggested. Fire a warning shot across their bow, maybe, and risk them thinking we are hostile? Vex shook their head. No, the last thing this situation needs is a panicked human with access to nuclear weapons. On their sensors, they watched as a smaller craft detached from the main human vessel. The shuttle was even more primitive than its parent ship, little more than a metal box with engines strapped to the back. Shuttle launch detected. Toru reported unnecessarily. One life sign aboard. Marcus Kane, Vex said grimly. The universe is about to get a very expensive lesson in human curiosity. Pioneer's Edge, this is Marcus in Shuttle Alpha 7. The human's voice carried across space with almost manic cheerfulness. Beginning approach to the anomaly. If this works, drinks are on me when I get back. And if it doesn't work? Elena's voice was tight with worry. Then you will have a great story to tell at my funeral, Marcus replied. Either way, it's a win-win situation. That, said Nim flatly, is not how winning works. The shuttle moved toward the wormhole with agonizing slowness, its primitive engines struggling against the gravitational effects of the anomaly. Marcus Kane was actually taking his time, running sensor sweeps and recording everything for posterity. At least he's being scientific about his suicide, Vex observed. Small comfort, Toru muttered, watching their instruments spike wildly as the shuttle approached the event horizon. Energy readings are climbing, Nim reported. Whatever that wormhole is, it's reacting to the human's presence. Reacting how? Vex asked, though they weren't sure they wanted to know the answer. The quantum flux is increasing. Dimensional stability is fluctuating. And there's something else. Nim frowned at their displays. I'm reading secondary energy signatures. Like there's something on the other side of that thing. Something on the other side. Vex felt a chill run down their spine. You mean something's coming through? No, Nim said slowly. I mean something's waiting. Marcus Kane's voice cut through their growing dread. This is amazing. The energy patterns are unlike anything we have ever seen. It's like the wormhole is scanning me somehow, running some kind of analysis. Marcus, get out of there. Raji's voice was pure panic now. Something's wrong. Our sensors are going crazy. Everything's fine, Marcus replied, but his voice had changed slightly. There was something different about it, though Vex couldn't put their finger on what. I'm going to proceed through the aperture. For science. For science, Vex repeated sarcastically. The last words of idiots throughout the galaxy. The shuttle reached the event horizon and paused for just a moment, hanging in space like it was gathering courage. Then, with a burst of primitive rocket fuel, Marcus Kane flew directly into the interdimensional anomaly. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the wormhole exploded with light. Energy spike. Toru shouted over the screaming alarms. A massive quantum disturbance. The whole structure is destabilizing. The wormhole writhed like a living thing, colors beyond description spiraling through its interior. The light was so bright that even their advanced sensors couldn't penetrate it. Are you getting any readings on the shuttle? Vex demanded. Negative. Nim replied. It's like it never existed. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the chaos stopped. The wormhole settled back to its previous state, pulsing gently as if nothing had happened. Well, Vex said into the silence. That went about as well as expected. Is he dead? Toru asked quietly. Unknown, Nim replied. But if he isn't, he's somewhere very, very far from here. None of them noticed the subtle change in the wormhole's energy signature. None of them detected the almost imperceptible shift in its quantum resonance. Something was coming back, but it wouldn't be Marcus Kane. How long has it been? Elena's voice drifted across the communication frequencies, tight with barely controlled anxiety. 4 hours, 37 minutes, and 15 seconds, Raj replied immediately. Not that I'm counting or anything. Vex slumped in their command chair, staring at the readings that refused to make sense. 4.5 hours of watching the wormhole pulse like a sick heart. 4.5 hours of sensors detecting absolutely nothing useful. And 4.5 hours of listening to two humans slowly lose their minds with worry. Any change in the energy patterns? Nim asked for the 20th time in the last hour. Same as the last 19 times you asked, Toru replied without looking up from their console. Quantum flux remains stable, dimensional matrix shows no signs of additional disturbance, and there's still no sign of the shuttle. Or what's left of the shuttle, Vex added helpfully. Could you not? Nim shot them a look. The humans are nervous enough without your commentary. The humans should be nervous, Vex retorted. Their friend just flew into an interdimensional meat grinder, and they are sitting there like faithful pets waiting for him to come home. As if summoned by their words, Elena's voice crackled over the speakers again. Pioneer's edge to any listening stations. We are maintaining position and monitoring the anomaly. If anyone out there has information about spatial rifts or dimensional travel, now would be a really good time to share. She knows we are here, Toru observed. Of course she knows we are here, Vex replied. Their sensors are primitive, not broken. They have probably been tracking our position since they arrived. Should we respond? Nim asked. And tell them what exactly? Vex spread their arms. Sorry about your friend, but he probably got turned into quantum soup the moment he crossed the event horizon. That will really boost their morale. Raji's voice joined the transmission, sounding like a man on the edge of a complete breakdown. Elena, I'm reading some very strange energy fluctuations from the anomaly. The patterns are shifting in ways that don't match any natural phenomena I know. It's defined strange, Elena replied, though her voice suggested she wasn't sure she wanted to know. It's like something's moving around inside that thing. Something big. Vex felt their skin crawl. Something big. Toru was already running detailed scans, their tentacles moving in precise patterns across the sensor array. He's right. There are definitely fluctuations that suggest movement within the wormhole structure. Large-scale movement. How large-scale are we talking about? Nim demanded, moving to the tactical station. Hard to say, Toru replied, frowning at their readings. The dimensional distortion makes accurate measurements impossible. But whatever's in there, it's definitely bigger than the shuttle was. Maybe it's just the wormhole itself, Vex suggested without much conviction. Some kind of natural fluctuation in the space-time matrix. Or maybe, Nim said grimly, something ate the shuttle and is now looking for dessert. They all turned to stare at the security chief. What? Nim shrugged. I have read the reports from the Outer Rim. Space is full of things that like to eat other things. Why should interdimensional space be any different? That's a terrifying thought, Toru said. It's also purely speculative, Vex pointed out, though they didn't sound particularly convinced by their own words. The hours dragged on like a slow torture. The humans continued their vigil, taking turns to sleep while one maintained watch. Their conversations grew shorter and more clipped as time passed, hope slowly giving way to the grim reality that Marcus Kane might not be coming back. It's been 6 hours, Elena said during one of her shifts. Standard protocol says we should report back to Earth Command after 6 hours of no contact. Standard protocol doesn't cover flying into interdimensional anomalies, Raj replied. I checked. Extensively. We can't wait here forever, Elena continued. If he's not coming back, we need to get this information to the colonies. This discovery could change everything. Or end everything, Raj muttered. Vex found themselves oddly moved by the humans' loyalty. Despite their primitive technology and reckless nature, they were refusing to abandon their friend. It was admirable in a tragically stupid sort of way. The wormhole energy is shifting again, Toru announced suddenly. A different pattern this time. More organized. Organized how? Vex asked, leaning forward. Almost like something's trying to communicate. Or coordinate. A chill settled over the alien crew. Whatever was happening inside that wormhole, it was becoming more active, more purposeful. Should we warn the humans? Nim asked quietly. Warn them about what? Vex replied. We don't even know what we are looking at. Something's coming, Toru said suddenly, their voice barely above a whisper. Energy spike building at the event horizon. Something's definitely coming through. The waiting was over. And somehow Vex knew that whatever emerged from that wormhole would be infinitely worse than losing Marcus Kane had been. Contact emerging from the wormhole. Toru's voice hit a pitch that could have shattered glass. Single vessel, matching the shuttle's configuration. Vex nearly fell out of their chair. Are you serious? After 6 hours, something's actually coming back? It's definitely the shuttle, Toru confirmed, their tentacles dancing across the sensor array. Same energy signature, same basic structure. It's him. It's actually him. Over the communication frequencies, they could hear Elena and Raj erupting in celebration. Marcus. Marcus, do you copy? Oh, thank the stars, we thought you were dead. This is Marcus, came the reply, and Vex felt a strange sensation crawl up their spine. The voice was right. The same human vocal patterns, the same inflections. But something about it made their skin crawl. Sorry for the delay. The trip was educational. Educational? Raj's voice was giddy with relief. Marcus, you have been gone for over 6 hours. We were about to send a message to Earth Command and tell them you'd been turned into space dust. 6 hours? Marcus sounded genuinely surprised. It felt like minutes. Time must flow differently in there. Elena's laugh crackled through the speakers. Only you would find a way to make interdimensional travel sound boring. What did you see? Where did you go? It's difficult to explain, Marcus replied slowly. The other side is beautiful, peaceful, very welcoming. Vex frowned at their sensor displays. Something was wrong with the readings. The shuttle was definitely Marcus Kane's vessel, but the quantum signature was subtly different. Like a musical note played slightly off-key. Toru, Vex said quietly, run a detailed bioscan on the shuttle. Already on it, Toru replied, their voice troubled. The life sign matches Marcus Kane's baseline, but there are some anomalies. What kind of anomalies? His neural activity is different, more complex somehow. Like there are additional patterns overlaying his normal brain function. Nim looked up from the tactical station. Define additional patterns. I'm not sure, Toru admitted. It's almost like there's a second consciousness present. Or maybe a third. The readings keep shifting. Over the communication array, Marcus was describing his experience to his crewmates. The space on the other side is vast beyond description. There are others there waiting. They have been waiting for so long. Others? Elena asked. You mean aliens? Other species? Not exactly aliens, Marcus replied, and there was something in his tone that made Vex's blood run cold. More like neighbors. They have been watching our dimension for ages, waiting for someone to open the door. And you opened it for them, Raj said, excitement mixing with nervousness in his voice. We opened it together, Marcus corrected. It was a mutual decision. Vex stared at the sensor readings in growing horror. Toru scanned the wormhole. Check for additional energy signatures. Toru's tentacles flew over the controls, and their face went pale. Multiple contacts detected within the wormhole structure. As at least a dozen distinct energy patterns, all moving toward our dimension. A dozen? Nim's voice was sharp. What kind of contacts? Unknown configuration. They don't match any known vessel types, but they are definitely artificial. And they are big. Much bigger than the shuttle. On the communication frequencies, Marcus was still talking to his crew, his voice warm and friendly and absolutely terrifying. The others are curious about humanity. They want to meet you, to understand how we think and feel. That sounds amazing. Elena replied enthusiastically. first contact with an interdimensional species. This will change everything. Oh, it will definitely change everything, Marcus agreed, and Vex caught an undertone in his voice that made their blood freeze. They are particularly interested in our bodies, the way we are constructed. They find our biological processes fascinating. Our bodies? Raj sounded less enthusiastic now. But the way we move, the way we think, the way we experience reality, Marcus explained. They want to understand it from the inside. Vex turned to their crew with growing panic. We need to warn them. Right now. Warn them about what? Nim asked. That their friend came back wrong? Based on what evidence? Based on the fact that his neural patterns are completely alien. Vex gestured wildly at the sensor displays. That's not Marcus Kane anymore. That's something wearing Marcus Kane. You don't know that for certain, Toru protested, though they didn't sound convinced. Then explain the dozen unknown contacts moving through the wormhole. Vex shot back. Explain why his biosignature shows multiple overlapping consciousness patterns. Explain why everything about this situation is screaming that we need to run. Marcus's shuttle was approaching the Pioneer's edge now, moving with precise, mechanical efficiency that was completely unlike the chaotic flight patterns humans normally used. Elena, prepare the docking bay. I'm coming aboard. Roger that, Marcus. Bay doors are opening now. No. Vex shouted at their console, forgetting that the humans couldn't hear them. Don't let him on your ship. We have to contact them, Nim said decisively. Warning or no warning, they need to know what we are seeing. Vex nodded grimly and opened a channel on all human frequencies. Unknown human vessel, this is Research Station Keeper 9. Do not allow the returning shuttle to dock. Repeat, do not allow docking procedures to continue. Elena's voice crackled back immediately, confusion evident. Unknown station, please identify yourself. Are you responsible for this anomaly? We are not responsible for the wormhole, Vex replied quickly. But we have been monitoring your situation. The entity returning in your shuttle is not your crewmate. That's ridiculous, Raj's voice cut in. We are talking to Marcus right now. He knows things only Marcus would know. Because it has access to Marcus's memories, Vex said desperately. Your friend went through that wormhole and something else came back wearing his body. Elena, Raj, Marcus's voice interrupted their conversation, still warm and friendly and wrong. Don't listen to them. They are afraid of what they don't understand. I'm still me. I'm still your friend. Marcus, these aliens are saying you are not really you, Elena said uncertainly. Do I sound different to you? Marcus asked. Do I seem like someone else? There was a pause. No, Elena admitted. You sound exactly like Marcus. Because I am Marcus, he replied with a laugh that was perfect in every way except for the complete absence of human warmth behind it. I have just learned so much on the other side. I want to share it with you. I want to share it with everyone. Vex watched in horror as the shuttle completed its docking procedure. They are letting him aboard. And there's nothing we can do to stop it, Nim said grimly. On their sensors, the dozen contacts within the wormhole were moving faster now, drawn forward by some invisible signal. Whatever had taken Marcus Kane's place was calling its friends. And humanity was about to get a very close look at their new neighbors. Docking complete. Elena's voice carried across space with the cheerful efficiency of someone about to make the worst mistake of their short life. Welcome back, Marcus. We missed you. I missed you too, Marcus replied, and Vex could practically hear the smile in his voice. The wrong kind of smile. The kind that belonged on something that had learned how to smile by watching humans do it, but had never understood why. More than you could possibly imagine. Vex stared at their sensor displays in growing horror. The moment Marcus had stepped aboard the Pioneer's edge, something fundamental had changed in the ship's energy signature. It was subtle at first, like a single instrument going slightly out of tune in an otherwise perfect orchestra. Toru, Are you monitoring the human vessel's internal systems? Vex asked, their voice tight with dread. Trying to, Toru replied, tentacles dancing frantically across their console. Their primitive shielding is interfering with detailed scans, but I'm detecting some very unusual energy patterns spreading through the ship. Spreading? Nim looked up sharply from the tactical station. Like an infection? That's actually a disturbingly accurate comparison, Toru admitted. Over the communication frequencies, they could hear the reunion taking place aboard the human ship. Elena and Raj were bombarding Marcus with questions about his experience, their voices bright with excitement and scientific curiosity. The other side is incredible, Marcus was saying, his voice warm with what sounded like genuine enthusiasm. The beings there have existed for eons beyond counting. They have watched countless civilizations rise and fall across the dimensions. Dimensions? Raj's voice climbed with excitement. You mean there are multiple universes? Oh, so many more than you could imagine, Marcus replied. And the barriers between them are much thinner than your scientists believe. Sometimes they wear away completely. Like our wormhole, Elena said. Exactly like your wormhole, Marcus agreed. Though calling it yours might be a bit presumptuous. Vex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's environmental systems. Toru, status on those contacts within the wormhole? Still advancing, Toru reported grimly. Estimated time to emergence, approximately 2 hours. 2 hours, Vex repeated. 2 hours until a dozen unknown entities emerge from an interdimensional rift. This day just keeps getting better. Nim was running continuous scans on the human vessel, their expression growing more troubled by the minute. The energy signature from the Pioneer's Edge is becoming increasingly unstable. Whatever's happening over there, it's accelerating. Elena? Raj's voice suddenly carried a note of concern. Are you feeling all right? You look a little pale. I feel fine, Elena replied, but her voice sounded different somehow. Flatter, more measured. Actually, I feel better than fine. I feel enlightened. Vex's heart skipped several beats. Oh no! Oh no, no, no! What? Nim demanded. It's spreading, Vex said, staring at the sensor readings in horror. Whatever took Marcus, it's spreading to the rest of the crew. That's impossible, Toru protested. Consciousness transfer doesn't work that way. You can't just copy a mind from one person to another. Unless you are not copying, Vex said slowly, the pieces falling into horrifying place. Unless you are adding to what's already there. Raj's voice crackled over the speakers, still sounding like himself, but with an edge of wonder that hadn't been there before. This is amazing. I can see so much more now. Understand so much more. The universe is far more complex than we ever imagined. The universe is about to become a lot less complex if we don't do something, Nim said grimly. Should we arm weapons and fire on a human civilian vessel? Vex shook their head. High Command would have us ejected into space without suits. Better than letting whatever's happening over there spread beyond this system, Nim replied. Elena's laugh drifted across the communication frequencies, and it was all wrong. Too perfect, too measured, like someone had calculated exactly how a laugh should sound but had never experienced joy. Marcus, this is incredible. I can feel them. The others, they are so patient, so understanding. They have been waiting for someone like us, Marcus replied. Someone curious enough to open the door, but flexible enough to adapt to new realities. Adapt to new realities, Vex repeated sarcastically. Is that what we are calling interdimensional possession now? We should try to contact them again, Toru suggested. Maybe if we explain what we are seeing. They won't listen, Nim said flatly. Look at the energy readings. The transformation is already too advanced. Whatever those things are, they are not just copying human consciousness. They are replacing it. As if summoned by their words, Marcus's voice carried across space again, but this time it wasn't directed at his crewmates. Keeper 9 Station, We know you are monitoring our communications." Vex felt their blood turn to ice. "He's talking to us." "We appreciate your concern for our welfare," Marcus continued, his voice carrying that same terrifying warmth. "But your fears are unfounded. We are still who we were. We have simply become more." "More what?" Vex found themselves asking aloud. "More than human." Elena's voice joined Marcus's transmission. "More than limited by the boundaries of a single-dimensional existence. More than trapped by the narrow perspectives of biological evolution," Raj added, his voice joining the chorus. 3 voices speaking in perfect harmony, with identical inflections and timing. 3 voices that had once been individual humans, now speaking as parts of a single entity. "That," said Nim with admirable understatement, "is deeply disturbing." "We understand your fear," the Marcus Elena Raj entity continued. "Fear of the unknown is a natural response for species limited to single-dimensional existence. But we can help you overcome that limitation." "Not interested," Vex called back, knowing it was probably futile but unable to stop themselves. "We are perfectly happy being limited. Thank you very much." "Your happiness is irrelevant," came the reply, and for the first time the warm friendliness dropped away completely. What remained was cold, calculating, and utterly alien. "Your dimensional barriers are already compromised, though the wormhole has been stabilized. The others will arrive soon." "How soon?" Toru asked quietly. As if in answer, their sensors began screaming again. The wormhole was expanding, its edges stretching like taffy as something massive pushed through from the other side. Contact emerging from the wormhole. Toru shouted over the alarms. "Multiple contacts." "They are coming through." "All of them?" Vex demanded. "All of them," Toru confirmed. 12 distinct energy signatures, each one the size of a battlecruiser. "And they are all heading directly for us." Vex looked at their crew, saw their own terror reflected in every eye, and made the kind of decision that would either save them or get them all killed horribly. "Nim, raise shields and charge weapons." "Toru, send an emergency transmission to High Command." "Full priority. All frequencies." "What should I tell them?" Toru asked. "Tell them," Vex said grimly, "that we have found something worse than war. Tell them we have found something that wants to make friends." The first of the interdimensional entities emerged from the wormhole like a nightmare made of twisted metal and impossible geometry, and it was heading straight for their station. Lockdown protocol initiated. Nim's voice cut through the chaos as blast shields slammed down over the observation windows and emergency lights bathed the station in angry red. All sections sealed, weapons online, shields at maximum. Vex watched the tactical display with the kind of fascination usually reserved for watching one's own execution. 12 massive entities had emerged from the wormhole, each one defying every law of physics they thought they understood. The ships, if they could even be called ships, moved like living things through space, their surfaces shifting and flowing like liquid metal having nightmares. "Emergency transmission sent to High Command," Toru reported, their voice remarkably steady considering they were probably about to die. Estimated response time, 4 days minimum. 4 days, Vex repeated with hollow laughter. "Well, that's helpful. By then, these things will have converted half the sector." The Pioneer's Edge had detached from its position near the wormhole and was now moving toward Keeper 9 with the kind of purposeful efficiency that made Vex's skin crawl. No more erratic human flight patterns, no more wasted fuel burns. Whatever was controlling the human ship now flew like a machine with a very specific destination in mind. "Incoming transmission from the human vessel," Toru announced. "Let me guess," Vex said dryly. "They want to talk." Keeper 9 station, Marcus Kane's voice filled the command center, but it might as well have been a recording for all the humanity left in it. "You have observed our transformation. Do you understand what we have become? Resistance serves no purpose." "I beg to differ," Vex replied, activating the external speakers. "Resistance serves the very important purpose of making me feel better about the situation. Call it a character flaw." Your humor will not protect you. Elena's voice joined the transmission. Your shields will not protect you. Your weapons will not protect you. Wow, Nim observed, checking their tactical readouts. They are really committed to this whole doom and gloom routine, aren't they? What will protect us? Vex asked, genuinely curious despite their terror. Acceptance. Raj's voice completed the chorus. Join us willingly, and your transition will be painless. Resist, and you will experience the full weight of dimensional displacement. Dimensional displacement? Toru looked up from their console. That sounds unpleasant. Everything about this situation sounds unpleasant, Vex replied. The question is, how unpleasant are we willing to make it for them? The 12 entities were spreading out now, forming a loose sphere around Keeper 9 with mathematical precision. Each ship was different in design, but similar in the way they moved, like fingers on the same hand working in perfect coordination. They are surrounding us, Nim reported unnecessarily. Classic encirclement pattern. These things know military tactics. Of course they do, Vex said with bitter resignation. They have probably been watching civilizations fight wars since before our species discovered fire. They have had plenty of time to study. Analysis of their weapon systems is problematic, Nim continued, frowning at their displays. I can't identify any conventional armaments, but the energy readings suggest they don't need conventional armaments. Meaning? Meaning they could probably unmake our molecular structure just by thinking about it really hard. Vex felt a laugh bubble up from somewhere deep in their chest. You know what the worst part of this situation is? 347 cycles of absolutely nothing happening, and now we are facing an interdimensional invasion with a crew of 3 and a research station that was designed to study cosmic background radiation. Could be worse, Toru said with determined optimism. How exactly could this be worse? Vex demanded. We could be facing them alone. Despite everything, Vex felt a warm surge of affection for their crew. They were probably all going to die horribly, but at least they'd face it together. The human ship is closing to docking range, Nim announced. Should I fire? Not yet, Vex said, studying the tactical display. Let's see what they are planning. Maybe we can learn something useful before they turn us all into interdimensional puppets. Keeper 9, we are requesting permission to dock. Marcus's voice carried no trace of irony, despite the fact that they were surrounded by hostile forces. We wish to discuss terms. Terms? Vex laughed. What kind of terms could there possibly be? You surrender your creepy interdimensional friends and go back to being human, and we don't blow you into constituent atoms? We offer you evolution, Elena's voice replied. Transcendence beyond the limitations of single-dimensional existence. Unity, with consciousness greater than anything your species has ever imagined. We offer you horror beyond description and the complete loss of individual identity, Nim translated helpfully. That's a much more accurate sales pitch, Vex agreed. The Pioneer's edge was close enough now that they could see it clearly on the external cameras. The ship looked normal enough from the outside, but there was something wrong with the way it moved through space. Too smooth, too perfect, like it was being piloted by something that had studied human technology but had never actually been human. You have 30 seconds to consider our offer, Raj's voice added to the transmission. After that, we will demonstrate the futility of resistance. 30 seconds? Vex looked at their crew. Well, that's generous of them. Any last requests before we probably die horribly? I'd like to go on record as saying this is the most exciting shift I have ever worked, Toru said with surprising cheer. I'd like to go on record as saying I told you this assignment was cursed, Nim added. And I'd like to go on record as saying that if we somehow survive this, I'm requesting a transfer to the nice, safe job of defusing unexploded quantum mines, Vex concluded. Time's up, Marcus announced. And that's when the real nightmare began. The Pioneer's Edge didn't fire weapons. It didn't need to. Instead, the converted human ship simply moved closer to Keeper 9's hull and touched it. The moment metal made contact with metal, Vex felt something fundamental change in the station's superstructure. It was like watching rust spread, but instead of corrosion, it was something far worse. "Hull breach in Section 7. Toru shouted, but their voice was confused rather than panicked. "No, wait, not a breach. The hull is changing." Vex stared at the readings in growing horror. Where the human ship had made contact, the station's molecular structure was rearranging itself, creating passages where none had existed before. The entities weren't breaking in. They were teaching the station to let them in. "That's new," Nim observed with admirable calm, "and deeply disturbing. All hands to emergency stations." Vex commanded, then immediately realized the futility of the order. "Both hands, I mean. Since there are only 3 of us." The converted sections of the station were spreading like a technological plague, moving through the superstructure with terrifying efficiency. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically, but even as they watched, the barriers began to adapt, developing new configurations that allowed the conversion process to continue. "They are not just taking over the station," Toru said, their voice filled with scientific fascination despite their terror. "They are improving it, making it more efficient." "More efficient at what?" Vex demanded. "At being a part of them," came Marcus Kane's voice over the internal communication system. Somehow the transformed human was already inside their station. "Your technology is primitive but functional. We can work with it." "How generous of you," Vex replied, checking their emergency sidearm. "I suppose you will be wanting the grand tour next." "That won't be necessary." Elena's voice joined the conversation from a different section of the station. "We are quite capable of finding our own way around." "They are already in multiple sections," Nim reported, studying the tactical display, "moving through areas that should be sealed. The station's own systems are helping them." Vex felt a cold realization settle over them. They don't just convert people. They convert everything. Technology, infrastructure, entire civilizations. They turn it all into extensions of themselves. "Like a virus," Toru said quietly. "Worse than a virus," Vex corrected. "A virus just wants to reproduce. These things want to improve everything they touch, make it more efficient, more perfect, more like them." "And once they have converted this station," Nim said grimly, "they will have access to our communication networks, our navigation databases, our star charts. They will know exactly where to find every inhabited world in this sector." "Bingo," Raji's voice echoed through the corridors, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Your species has been very thorough in cataloging potential targets. We appreciate the efficiency." Vex looked at their crew, saw the same desperate determination in their eyes that they felt burning in their own chest. "You know what? I have had enough of this." "Enough of what?" Nim asked. "Enough of being polite to interdimensional parasites," Vex said, moving to the primary control console. "Enough of playing by their rules. Enough of letting them dictate the terms of this encounter." "What are you planning?" Toru asked nervously. "Something spectacularly stupid," Vex replied, their hands dancing across the station's primary systems. "Something that will either save this sector or get us all killed horribly. Possibly both." "Those are terrible odds," Nim pointed out. "Better than the odds of letting these things loose on the galaxy," Vex shot back, accessing the station's power core controls. "Toru, I need you to overload the quantum resonance chamber." "Nim, reroute all available power to the gravitational field generators." "Vex," Toru said slowly, "you are talking about destabilizing the station's entire power grid. That could cause a cascade failure that could collapse local space-time." "Yes," Vex finished. "Right on top of that wormhole." Understanding dawned in Nim's eyes. "You want to create a quantum implosion, seal the wormhole permanently." "And take us with it," Toru added. "Probably," Vex admitted. "But it might also take them with us. And more importantly, it will stop any more of their friends from coming through." The converted sections of the station were spreading faster now, and they could hear the sound of footsteps in the corridors. Slow, measured, perfectly synchronized footsteps that belonged to things that had once been human. "We know what you are planning." Marcus's voice carried a note of what might have been amusement. "Your primitive understanding of quantum mechanics is insufficient for the task you are attempting." "Maybe," Vex replied, continuing to work. "But my primitive understanding of pure stubbornness might just be enough." "You cannot stop us," Elena's voice added. "Even if you destroy this station, even if you seal this particular wormhole, there are others. We have been patient for eons. We can be patient for eons more." "Patience is overrated," Vex muttered, initiating the overload sequence. "Sometimes you just have to grab the universe by the throat and shake it until it pays attention." The quantum resonance chamber began to whine with increasing intensity, and every display on the station started flashing warning signals that roughly translated to, "Are you completely insane?" "Power core at critical levels," Nim reported. "Gravitational field generators online and building charge. Wormhole energy signature is fluctuating," Toru added. "I think it's working. The dimensional matrix is becoming unstable." "We will not allow this," Raji's voice carried a note of something that might have been anger. "You will cease this action immediately." "Or what?" Vex challenged. "You will kill us? You were going to do that anyway. You will convert us?" "Same thing. You will make us watch, as you spread across the galaxy, turning every living thing into copies of yourselves?" "That's exactly what I'm trying to prevent." The footsteps in the corridors were getting closer, and Vex could see the converted sections of the station spreading toward the command center like a technological infection. 30 seconds to cascade failure," Nim announced. "They are almost here," Toru added, staring at the sealed blast doors that were already beginning to change, but developing new configurations that would allow the converted humans to enter. "You know what the funny thing is?" Vex said, watching the power readings climb toward critical levels. 347 cycles of boredom, and it turns out the most exciting thing that ever happened to us was also the last thing that ever happened to us. Poetic, Nim observed. "I always wanted to go out with a bang," Toru added cheerfully. The blast doors finished their conversion and slid open with mechanical precision. 3 figures stood in the doorway, wearing the faces of Marcus Kane, Elena Vasquez, and Raj Patel, but moving with the synchronized precision of a single entity wearing multiple bodies. "This ends now," they said in perfect unison. "You are absolutely right," Vex agreed, and pressed the final activation sequence. The quantum resonance chamber screamed like a dying star, gravitational fields twisted space-time into impossible configurations, and the wormhole began to collapse in on itself with the sound of reality tearing apart. "For what it's worth," Vex said to their crew as space-time started to fold around them, "this has been the best-worst assignment of my entire career." "Likewise," Nim replied. "Wouldn't trade it for anything," Toru added. The converted humans lunged forward, but they were too late. The station, the wormhole, and everything within 1,000 units of local space-time collapsed into a single point of infinite density and immediately exploded outward again, taking the interdimensional entities and their grand plans for galactic improvement with them. In the aftermath, there was only empty space where Keeper 9 had been. Empty space, and a warning beacon that Vex had programmed to broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Research Station Keeper 9, the message began. If you are receiving this transmission, it means we successfully prevented an interdimensional invasion by blowing ourselves up. The wormhole has been sealed, the threat neutralized. And we'd like to go on record as saying that this job really didn't pay enough for this kind of excitement. Keeper 9 out." And in the vast emptiness of space, 347 cycles of boredom had finally come to an end.